Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Wee BSL Blethers. Who am I? Well, I'm your host for tonight, and my name is Kristers. I'm a member of the Youth Advisory Group, and that's part of the Deaf Roots and Pride. And that's located in the BDA, the British Deaf Association, Scotland. So, tonight's programme, I am so thrilled that we have got our guest who's an amazing filmmaker and photographer here tonight. I'm so excited to start chatting to him. So, can I introduce Will Clark? Hello, Will.
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Kristers?
I'm fine. Thank you for joining tonight. Could you tell us a wee bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Will Clark, and I'm a professional filmmaker and photographer.
Wow, amazing. So, photography you'd mentioned and filmmaking you'd mentioned, but I suppose the obvious question to ask you is what kind of attracted you? What got you there?
Well, that is a good question. Um, I've always taken pictures, I think. I haven't always been a filmmaker. I used to work as a graphic designer originally,
Ah,
making logos and websites and posters, that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I was 28 years old, so quite a late starter, that I
okay.
started really getting into photography. And that was because I met a pal of mine, a deaf person, a deaf pal, who was a professional photographer. And I just kind of took a look at what they were doing. They let me have a look at their equipment and play with their cameras and stuff. And I just got really, really into it. And that was the start. That was it. So I began taking photographs then, and I applied to do an HND in photography here in Glasgow. While I submitted my application and was
Okay.
waiting for an interview, I took so many photos, try and build up a portfolio. Got my interview, got in. I quit my job as a graphic designer at that point, went backpacking for a couple of months, and then came back and started college. And that's how it all began, really.
So you applied for an HND course. How did you go on with interpreters? What was the situation for you?
Yeah. So when I applied, I notified them that I was deaf and I wanted BSL interpretation. Um, and they said that was fine. They would sort it all out. When I got for interview, there was an interpreter already there. The college booked all the interpreters, um, asked me if I was happy with the interpreters that they were providing, and it was great. They were very deaf aware. They understood my needs. Everything was already in place. And I'm talking about, 12, 15 years ago here. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you did your photography, and your filmmaking, but have you got anybody that really influenced you?
Oh, loads of people. If I had to pick one, I would say, well, it's not a deaf person, I'm afraid. It's a hearing person. Um, but it's a man named Roger Deakins. And he does photography, but he's more of a filmmaker, a cinematographer, really. So it's similar to a photographer, but it's within the filmmaking industry, and his work is absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you see his vision in some of the films that he's made, he was a massive influence, really. And at the time when I started just making photographs and films, I was really copying him. I know you shouldn't copy other people, but I did. And I think actually copying him helped me find my own style as I progressed. So he was a huge influence. He had a great impact on my work, I think.
God, that's amazing to learn that. So when you were doing your sort of photography, was there anybody that sort of helped you in any ways with, even your mental health?
Oh, definitely. I mean, photography itself really helped my mental health big time because taking photographs is a kind of therapy. It's like an empathy. Some people paint, some people draw, and they find that very relaxing and really helpful. For me, it's photography. Something I kind of have to do. I think without photography, my mental health would suffer. I think I'd get depressed. I think I'd, be idle. But regardless of the weather, cold, rain, sun, I'm out taking photographs of anything and everything. And that really helps me, definitely. I would recommend trying photography for your mental health. I mean, you don't have to have a smart camera. You can just use your phone, something like this. Just take photographs, come back, edit them, and that process feels really nice. So it does help with your well-being, certainly does with
Oh,
mine.
that's such good advice for particularly young people out there just now, maybe watching at home. I'm really impressed with that. That's great,
Yeah, for
Will.
sure.
So could I ask you this now, talking about filmmaking? Um, and I know that you've been successful, but what's your favourite things?
Do you know, if you'd asked me that question 2, 3, 4 years ago, I'd be able to show you, one thing. But now I think all of my films and all of the photographs I've taken to date, they're all successes as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter whether it's just a tiny project or it's been a really big project. I'm proud of everything I've done. Because I think all of those pieces show my journey from the beginning to where I'm at now. So I don't think I want to look back and say, oh, that was a bit dodgy and that one isn't good. I think they were all steps along the way in my journey and they show my improvement over that time. So there's nothing that I want to sweep away and hide in a closet. I think they're all part of the process and I'm proud of that.
That's so good. When you think back to maybe like your university days and you started at university, was it different at university getting interpreters there, or did you need interpreters, or how did you get through the communication maze?
Well, the college and at university, they were both in the same place for me. Um, and as soon as I enrolled in the course and said, I need interpreters, they had a kind of a disabled student support service in-house. Yeah, disabled student support service, it was called, yeah. Um, And they just kind of asked me what I needed. I had an interview with them. I said, I need interpreters, otherwise I won't be able to understand the lecturers. And because I'm looking at the interpreter while the lecture's going on, I probably need a note taker, maybe an electronic note taker. And they just said, oh, great, give us your timetable. We'll sort all that for you. And they just booked
Wow.
everything. So when I got into the classroom, I knew that the interpreters would already be there. I didn't have to worry about it, didn't have to think about it. They were already there. So it was a really relaxed thing, it was great, it was easy.
That just seems so amazing that you were in that situation, that you didn't have like the responsibility to book interpreters or look for or beg for interpreters. So there's other people that have to or I think would have to source that themselves, or do universities do it now?
Yeah. Um, you definitely have to fill out a form, which is a DSA, which is, I think it means student, no, it doesn't, sorry, it means disabled student allowance. That's it, DSA. I was trying to remember, it's been some years. I was trying to remember what it meant. DSA, disabled student allowance. And you fill out that form. You say how many hours you think you might need interpreters for, whether you might need a note taker or other equipment you might need, like a laptop or other things like that. So you can get a laptop to help you with your study for the period that you're in uni, like 3, 4, 5 years. And obviously you don't know what you might need. So the college can give you advice on that. They were really helpful for me.
Well, that's fantastic. Such good practical advice. So, when you were in your course, was there other members of the deaf community there?
No, I was the only deaf
Oh,
person. Yeah, the only one. And it felt fine. It was okay because I had interpreters there. So I could communicate with my classmates. in the break time, we'd have like a 10-minute break or whatever, and the interpreters hung around for that, and they would interpret for me in the breaks, so I could make friends with my classmates. And if the interpreters hadn't done that, if they'd only interpreted the lectures and that was all, I think that would have been more difficult. Because university it's important to go to your lectures at university, but it's important also to kind of network with each other and meet friends and make friends.
Yeah, and that seems just so important. Yeah, just sharing,
Definitely.
advising each other, and just
Yeah.
working together. It gives strength, I think.
And also, they're hearing friends, but they're also good friends now. And, when you graduate at the end of your course, those people become your network. They all work as photographers in different areas in the industry. For example, there's one person I can think of. If they get a job that isn't right for them, doesn't suit them, or they can't do it, they pass it on to one of us. And we all do that with each other. We pass jobs around. We share work between us.
Ah,
So yeah.
because I saw you doing the sign for network filming, and what happens in networking filming?
Well, that's what I mean. It's more like a kind of group of pals, and it's word of mouth, really. You know, if someone's a really good sound recordist, somebody might say, "Oh, I can recommend this person. They're really good." Or if someone's looking for a good filmmaker, they might say, "Oh, you should go and talk to him." Or,
Ah,
if there's a good makeup artist or a good technician, or so we share that information between us. I think without that network, it'd be really difficult to find that information, because you'd just be looking on the internet or something, wouldn't you? So it's kind of like a little bit of a community. It's like the deaf community, but it's a kind of photography and filmmaking community. You know what I mean?
that makes sense. I mean, within, film, there's lots of things like lighting, makeup, and everything, and that's all important,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes, it's very important. Some people think that, if you're a photographer or a filmmaker, you do everything, but that's not the case. It's not true. You work in a team. There's usually a makeup artist who comes in, does all the makeup. I don't get involved in that. There's somebody who does the lighting. Um, And, if you feel like you're doing too much of that yourself, you can book a professional light operator to come in and help you with that. So you do work as a team. I can do all of it myself, but if you were doing all of those things, you'd be so, so busy, you'd be run off your feet. So it's better to bring in lots of people and work as a team. I don't know. Are you thinking, Kristers, of getting involved in photography or filmmaking?
You know, I love photography. I really do. I love going to forests or the
Do
beach,
you?
things like that. Just places that just relax. I just love photographing there.
So forests, why forests, Kristers? What is it about photographing
Mm.
forests?
Oh, forests. It's the smells, the life, the relaxation, the danger as well.
Yeah.
Potentially, there's maybe animals coming out. It's all of it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to take lots of photography in forests, because you could do close-ups of the plants, you could do the different light coming through the trees. Or you could be there for hours, couldn't you? Taking loads of photographs. Beautiful.
You're right, Will. I love it. I love it, and I spend lots of
Okay.
times there. So, what do you think if there was deaf young people out there, maybe watching at home, who were interested in filmmaking, photography? Have you taught maybe any deaf young people?
Uh, y- um, I haven't done a kind of like a 6-week course for deaf young people. I've taught deaf adult BSL users. I've done that a few times, and that's been really successful. But in terms of young people, no, not yet. Something I'm planning to do in the future. I think it would be really nice for young deaf people to come along and, work with an adult deaf filmmaker, because we have similar experiences. We share the same language.
Yeah.
And I think on a one-to-one basis, that would work really well. You don't have to use an interpreter, right? You could just have direct communication. So there's that connection. And I think I could be a deaf role model, young person looking at me would think, well, deaf people can do it. So I taught a workshop for, I forgot the name of it. What is it
When
called?
was that?
It's like a school workshop. You go along for a day. It's like a taster workshop. So I've done that for deaf young people. I did that once. Hopefully, I'd love to do that again if that's set up again, but maybe a weekend course or maybe some other way of encouraging deaf young people to get into photography and filmmaking would be good.
Oh, well, I think if you did that, that would be amazing. I think a lot of deaf young people would love you as a role model, um, and they would love to participate. How would you do it? I suppose you could do it through Zoom as well as face to face. What would be your preference?
Well, Zoom's a bit difficult because with photography and film, they're quite hands-on. You know, you need to get in touch with the equipment. You need to go out into a particular area. You mentioned forests before. I mean, you need to be there looking at things, and you need to be doing that in a group so you can support each other. You can say, hey, look at the light over there, or look at this texture here, or look at this leaf. So it's best to do it physically in person, you know, to go out together and have that kind of hands-on experience. So teaching that on Zoom would be really difficult. It'd be really difficult to see what the other person was seeing. So I think being there in person is best.
Do you know what? That makes sense now that you've explained it. That's so good. So, could I get you back again to your university days and you got a degree? What was your degree in, and did you need that at university? Is it important for the future?
Well, that is a good question. It's a very good question because some professional filmmakers and professional photographers who are incredible, some of the best in the world, have no qualifications at all
Really?
in filmmaking
Wow.
and photography. They've just learned from scratch on their own. They've met the right people and they've got into the right networks and their careers have taken off. On the other hand, there are some people who've done degrees and got qualifications. For me, I think that route was best because I needed to kind of look at how to become professional as well as how to take photographs. So college and university gave me that. They gave me projects, they gave me assessments. The projects had themes like, particular materials, for example, and I go and take photographs of that. And as I
Yeah.
worked through these themes, my skills developed and my products improved. Whether I would have been able to do that without that tuition, I don't know. I think the tuition really helped me. I think maybe because I'm deaf as well, would I have got to know the right people? Would I have found the right opportunities without going to college? I don't know. A lot of it's about networking, you see. And college and university gave me that, gave me those opportunities and helped me kind of develop and progress. So, but it is a matter of personal choice.
That's good to know. When you think about your progression in being deaf, and you went through college, university, and you get a degree, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, as a deaf person, most deaf people have to work harder than hearing people just to prove that they can do it, that deaf people can do it. So if I didn't have a degree, I think it might be more difficult for me.
But it's hard work, Will, but you're definitely proud of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Great. So the degree, what was actually the name of the degree, and how did you pick what degree to do? How did you find out?
Okay, so I started off with the HND, which was in photography. When I passed that, I went on to do a BA Hons. The
What's
Hons is in brackets. It's just
what's honours?
it's like the name of the qualification. So it's a degree, but it's a good class of degree. It's one of the top kind of levels of degrees, and that's in film. But well, I don't actually have a qualification in filmmaking, but because of that photography and the film BA, I can move into filmmaking because they're both visual kind of disciplines. So yeah.
Ah, Your journey is so interesting. So really, you work. So you work yourself. Are you part of a team?
Well, both of those things, Kristers, really. Sometimes I work on my own. Sometimes I work as a part of the team. It does depend on the project. It depends on the individual project. So sometimes I feel like, if I don't, if it's something I can manage myself, I'll do the lighting, I'll do the filming, I'll record everything. Other projects, I think, no, I need a team on this one. And I'll bring in, say, a sound recordist, I'll bring in maybe a makeup artist, so I do both things really.
So when did you start sort of setting up your own sort of photography business? And does it cost a lot to
Yeah,
start and
too
set
much
up?
money. Too much money. I don't look at my bank. Don't look at my bank account. I really don't. Um, Buying cameras and film cameras is an expensive business for sure. But you kind of get your money back if you work your way towards it. You don't get it back straight away. It takes years. So it's an investment. But in 5, 6, 7, 8 years' time, you might have earned your money back. And I would say I set up my own business last year. So I've got my own company now. So yes, I've spent a lot of money on that, but I think it's really worth it. If I hadn't spent that money, I don't think I'd be able to progress. So you need to spend to kind of get the rewards. I think it's a sort of circular thing. But yeah,
Oh, so why is it difficult, you mentioned?
there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people working in film and in photography, and there's a lot of people doing really brilliant work. So you have to compete with them. You have to try and be
Ah,
the person that gets the project, that gets the
oh,
business. It's not nasty, it's healthy competition, but it's tough. Um, and in a way, deaf people, there might be a little bit of an advantage to being deaf because you've got access to the deaf community. If the deaf community needs photographers, there aren't many deaf photographers
really?
around. I think there's only 2 of us in Scotland,
Two?
me and one other. Yeah. We do need more. But, it means that you get a lot of work through the deaf community. I've got too much work. I have to say no because there's only 2 of us. Yeah.
Yeah, people are asking for
So
this, that, and the next thing.
yeah, so we need more deaf photographers in Scotland. So if young people want to get on board, this is the thing to do. I'm over 40, the other person's over 50. We've got no young people in Scotland doing photography, so there's definitely an opportunity there.
That's really good for young people, deaf people at home. Maybe they could be encouraged to join together as a group and get involved and be
Yeah,
the same as hearing people.
yeah, definitely. And the same is true in filmmaking. I think, again, there's only 2 in Scotland, me and one other. So again, I don't know why that is. Um, it might be because there weren't any role models. It might be because access to tuition has been difficult. It might be because people couldn't get hold of the right information. But I definitely would encourage young people to apply. If they're really interested in filmmaking, yeah, give it a go. Get on board.
Oh, I like that, Will. So, could I ask you, when you're working, do you mostly work with a deaf team or a hearing team? And
Oh.
if it's with a hearing team, how do you communicate
Mm.
and give your directions?
Yeah, to start with, just when I just graduated, I was mostly working with deaf people because I was very nervous. I'd just graduated, didn't really know what I was doing. Uh, Working with deaf people felt safe. I could communicate, but as I gained confidence through those experiences, I was able to kind of open my net a bit wider. And now I don't mind whether I'm working with deaf or hearing people. I would say at the moment I mostly work with hearing people. Most of my experience has been with hearing people, but they seem to be cool about working with deaf people. So yeah, I do both really.
So, you actually can work with deaf people and hearing people, and you're really
Yep,
flexible about it?
yep. And I communicate with the hearing people. I mean, it depends if it's a heavy kind of project and there's going to be a lot of communication. I bring in an interpreter using Access to Work.
Oh,
I
interesting.
just book my own interpreter, give them the date. Yeah.
So
I
you
use
pay
something
that?
called Access to Work,
What's that, Will?
ATW. It's called Access to Work.
I don't know what that means.
It's a government thing. You have to apply, and they give you a budget to help you book interpreters for your work. It's really helpful. It's not perfect, but it is really helpful. So if you do need to communicate with a hearing person and it's a small project and you can write notes to each other, I tend to do that. But if it's a big project, I book an interpreter and bring them in, and that's worked well so far.
That's just new knowledge to me. That's amazing. So recently, have you done any films that are long or short or some skits or what's your thing? Have you had a little lot of short
Longer
films or
films or
longer films? What have you done?
recently, my films have been pretty short, actually. I think about 15 minutes, so quite shorts. I've been working on shorts. So start small and work bigger, I think, is my aim. And hopefully in 2 or 3 years' time, I'll be making 2-hour movies, hopefully. But at the
Wow.
moment, I'm just taking it steady, step by step, building up my skills.
Oh, I get that. Just sort of taking it slow and
Yeah.
just going.
It's you shouldn't really take a massive leap. You need to build it up nice and steady. It's like climbing a ladder, really. You go one rung at a time, and then it's nice and smooth.
That makes sense to me. So when you're out there filming and things like that, do you have to source actors and things like that? And how do you do it? How do you find these people?
Uh, there's actors have agencies, so that they're like members of these agencies, and I'll go along to the agency and I'll say I want an actor who's maybe 25, who's whether I'm a man or a woman, how tall I want them and whatever, and they'll go through all of the people on their books, and then they'll
Ah,
recommend someone, and then we book them and we pay them. And sometimes we might be able to find a deaf actor. In that case, I contact them directly and say, hey, do you want to come along and audition for this or part in this film? And there are a lot of deaf actors around in Scotland. Yeah, we're really well provided with that.
yeah, I know that. That's really good. Is so what about things like lighting and other things? I suppose you have to have a budget for that. How do you do that?
The funding, that is a big thing because you have to apply for funding and you're not always successful. So you
Why?
do have to just keep trying. So it's a lot of applications. Um, at the moment, there's a lot of budget cuts, so it's quite challenging. But I was filming recently, just last year, and it took me 3 years to get the funding for that project. 3 years.
Year? Oh my.
3 years. Just for an 10-minute film. 3 years of campaigning to get that funding. So it is pretty challenging. I think funding is probably the most challenging thing.
So you really do have to work hard and persevere to get anything off the ground.
Yep. And I'm usually applying to bodies like Creative Scotland, National Lottery, arts funding. There's lots of different bodies, but you can't guarantee success is the thing. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But you just have to, as you say, persevere, roll your sleeves up, try again.
That's so inspirational, Will. So when you're at work and you're going about your daily business at work, so do you film mostly, or are you switch between photography or filmmaking?
In the past, it was definitely mostly photography and a little bit of filmmaking. And now I think that's swapped around. It's mostly filmmaking
Hmm.
and a little bit of photography. But now I'm focusing, I think, on becoming a full-time filmmaker. I've set up my own company. The photography, I'm not really doing that commercially anymore. I'm doing it personally for personal projects and for artistic explorations as a kind of hobby and as part of my well-being, for sure. I take lots of photographs still. I still have lots of ideas for projects. And when I have an idea, I'll take lots of photographs. But my work now is going to be filmmaking. That's what I'm focusing on now. That's what my company is about. And that's what I'm looking towards in the future.
Oh, so, well, when you think about things that are difficult, do you think it's photography is more difficult or filmmaking is more difficult?
Ooh, filmmaking, I think. Filmmaking.
Aye.
Eh, well, you've got your script to write, and then you've got the editing. So you've got to create the structure of the film. The editing is really important for the structure. And then you've got to kind of polish everything. You've got to direct the actors. You might have to take shots again if the actors haven't got it quite right. You're working in a small team, so that can be challenging. Photography is challenging for sure, but it's less stressful because you're just taking the photograph and that's it. And you can adapt some of those conditions. But with filmmaking, you're in a team, you've got to keep going. It's really stressful, but it's definitely worth it.
Oh,
Well, I was just about to ask you, Kristers, are you interested in being a filmmaker one day, maybe?
do you know, I think it is something I consider. I mean, when I was younger, I used to look at all the films in the cinema, and I would love the cinematography. I'd love the angles that they would take, and I would wonder, how did they do that? How did they create that image? You know, how were they able to follow some scenes? And I was just full of wonder, and I found it so amazing. So it's something I'm interested in.
And that's good. I mean, you know, if you look at films and and you think that shot's really challenging, then you realize that is a team. It's made by a team. It's not made by one person. You don't see it, but you know, I often read about how films are made, and it's really interesting because you see the finished result and you think, oh, that's amazing, it's wonderful, and when you get to that point, it can be so exciting.
That must make you feel just so proud and everything. But what would happen and how do you deal with it if something goes wrong on set or accidental on set? What happens?
Do you know, I mean, that has happened. When I look back, um, at the time it was awful. Now it seems funny, but I was doing a big project that had a lot of money riding on it. There's a lot of planning, and we had to go up into the Highlands to take lots of
Wow.
photographs, and there was lots of planning with the lighting and so on, and we had lots of poses and scenes that we wanted to create. We'd done all of that. We got all the equipment in the car. We set off. We're driving north. It was a 4-hour drive. We got there, and I felt like there was something. I felt like there was something missing, like I'd forgotten something nagging at me that whole drive north. And we got there, we set up, and I realized when I opened the boot, I hadn't brought the camera. So we couldn't do
Oh
anything. We had to cancel the whole
no!
thing. Wasted all
Everything
that
get
money,
dropped.
all that time, everything just thrown away.
Oh no.
So, I mean, we just lost the whole thing, and that was entirely my fault, and I'd planned everything, and it all went because I forgot to put that one bag with my camera in the boot. When I got back, it's still on my desk in the
Oh.
office. After that, I'm absolutely paranoid. I double check everything is there every time. Is it in the boot? Is it in the boot? Is it in the boot? Yes, it is.
Oh, that must have been awful. God, how you felt. You've done
Yep.
everything, ticked everything in the box, and you're the one that's forgotten that one main
Yep.
thing.
Honestly, had a checklist. I ticked everything off, but I hadn't put camera on the bottom. So yeah, you learn from these mistakes, right? You won't do it again.
Yeah,
I learned.
suppose. Yeah, as a young person, I'm always learning.
Yeah, for sure.
So, putting photography aside, can you actually do the lights and do you bring your own lights or do you have to get another operator to do that and makeup as well? Can you actually adapt to other roles?
I do have my own lights. They're not all that expensive, actually. They're fairly reasonable. So I just have a small kind of set, that are operational. If you want to do a really big job and you need really big lights, then I tend to hire lights because they're worth thousands and thousands of pounds, and I
What do you
can't
mean
afford to
by
buy those.
hire? And how do you hire?
There's lots of companies out there. You can Google, and it will say lighting hire. So you kind of borrow them for like 2 days, and you pay £100 for the
Ah,
right to borrow them. And when you've finished, you give it back to the company. So I do have my own lights that are functional for small jobs. But if it's a big project and it's really professional, then I mean, those lights can cost £5,000 to £20,000.
what?
So it's better to hire those. It's much cheaper to hire those. A lot of professionals, when you're working with those lights, you hire them because it's cheaper.
Oh, that's good knowledge. So, is there more men or more women photographers? Is it an equal split? What do you think? I mean, across the world, I don't know.
Um, well, do you know, I think most filmmakers and photographers are men, and that's a bit disappointing, I think. But I would say over the last 5 years, I've seen more and more women coming into the profession. So I feel it might be in 5 or 7 years' time, it'll be a 50-50 split. 50% men, 50% women. But traditionally, in the past, it has been male dominated. It's always been men. So I'd like to see more women coming in.
And do you feel it's important to have the right representation of women?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely, definitely believe in that. It should be equally split between men, women, and non-binary people, transgender people. We should have everybody involved equally. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So we really should be encouraging more women to get into that field. But how do they get involved? What would you say to them? Where would they start?
I mean, that's a difficult question because I'm not a woman, but I would just encourage them to, push through. Just go for it. Fight for what you want because nobody's going to give it to you on a plate. So just go for it. Keep fighting and push through.
Good advice. Lovely. So, well, when you're doing some filming and you have to get actors, how is it you kind of choose the actors to make sure that they work with the script and part of the team?
Uh,
And is there more men or women there?
I think it used to be men, but now I think it's mixed, men, women, LGBTQI plus. So I think that is growing. And that's something I like to see because I don't think it should always be binary, men and or women. Um, I think 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been difficult to say that. But now I think things are much more open. There's much more network and there's much more non-binary people who are involved in acting. And so you're able to kind of cast more non-binary people. I think the pool of deaf actors is growing. I think the pool of disabled actors is growing. So I think the whole world of acting is changing. And I think that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, you're right. Because it does seem that there's more of an impetus for people to strive for the equality. So it could be that we encourage, young people, deaf people to get involved and progress, or if
Yeah.
they're disabled, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like, you know the film Coda? Have
Yeah,
you seen that?
yeah.
It won lots of awards, didn't it? And, there were deaf people up there being applauded. And one of the problems was behind the scenes, there were no deaf people in the crew. All the crew were hearing. What I'd like to see in the future is deaf actors winning awards with films made by deaf crew. That's what
Yeah,
I'd like to see in the future. That's the change I'd like to see.
yeah. I would like to see that to encourage more deaf people to just participate and do the jobs that hearing people have been able to do all their lives, and we get to do that. It'd be great if we could.
Totally. Yeah.
So you see a lot of the time that photography and filmmaking can really help your mental health and save you being sort of isolated and lonely. Do you think that's
Oh,
true?
yeah, for sure. I know lots of people who have had issues or problems with their mental health and well-being. Um, and I think for most of them, they've found photography helpful. I mean, I'm not saying it's an absolute solution and, it makes everything good, but it can just help you be a bit more buoyant, getting out and about in the world, and taking photographs can be a distraction. Um, and when you come home and you edit things, it can make you feel good to see what you've taken. It can make you feel proud. It can give you something positive and valuable to feel about
And help with
yourself.
your
And
confidence?
that can improve your confidence. It's a kind of two-way thing, with you and the thing that you're photographing. And now with mobile phones, cameras are so great. The people can't
Mhm.
afford professional cameras necessarily, but you've got one on your phone. So just use your mobile phone, and it can be really helpful. I think it's very valuable.
I know, I suppose that mobile phones, it's a new thing and it's fashionable to take photographs on your phone.
Yeah. And now most phones, I think, have got excellent quality cameras on them. You can make short films with your phone.
Wow.
Just get together with your friends, have a laugh, making films, get an app. You can get free apps for editing those kinds of
Ah,
films, and then pop it on YouTube or, Facebook or Instagram or, social media. 5 or 10 years ago, you didn't have those kinds of opportunities, but now, I mean, the world's your oyster.
it'd be good for young people who are interested
Yeah.
in photography. They could get together via Facebook, and it'd be good for them to sort of maybe capture some images, put them online,
Yeah.
and just discuss them. That'd be great. That's a good idea. And they could do that on your own.
Yeah. You can. I mean, there's a few films and directors started by using mobile phones, and then 2 or 3 years later, they're famous. They're in Hollywood. They're directing great big movies. And they started with a mobile phone, so you don't need a camera. Uh, you know, if it's a good story and you can get your friends and family involved as actors and you can have fun, people have done that and won awards, so it's possible.
Wow. Well, that's something really inspirational for young deaf people at home to see that there's more that you could achieve, and also bearing witness to it that you can do it. You're one of the examples. So, have you ever seen sort of young people in social media that taken sort of photographs? Have you seen that?
Yeah, there's a lot. Instagram particularly and TikTok.
Ah, yeah.
There's lots on those. Those are very popular. Um, and most people, again, are just using their phones for that, keeping it nice and short. Even a 20-second film can be really successful, short and sweet and to the point. And you see these things taking off. And I think it's amazing because it gives young people an outlet, an opportunity to make films, take photographs with just their phones. It's fantastic.
That's right. That's true. Because I can think about if you're doing sort of filmmaking or photography, does it tend to be an older demographic or younger people?
Yeah, much older, 45 and over, I'd say. Um, there are young people, but you know, carrying those big cameras, it's a job for the experienced, I think. Younger people tend to be stronger physically. They tend to have little communities who share their tastes, and they develop their own particular ways of doing things. And there's no right and wrong. When you're young, you're learning the technology, you're learning about lighting, you're learning things, and you eventually develop your own taste and your own style from your own experience. So you can do that. After a few years, you can be famous.
So, I mean, so if someone who was young and maybe had a passion and a talent, they could set up their own business, couldn't they?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not?
And also when there's maybe young people, or could I ask you, if there's young people thinking about starting filmmaking or thinking about, I'll put it off till later, what would your advice be?
I think it's good to start early. Start as early as possible, but take your time. Don't try and rush it because you'll get burnt out. So take your time, pace yourself. Don't expect to be famous in a year. Forget that notion. Just focus on enjoying yourself. If you enjoy yourself, you'll get there in the end. You've got to follow your own path at your own pace. Don't think about fame and fortune. Just focus on what you're doing and just take your time.
I think that's really good advice. Just saying, go at your own speed and don't not manage your own expectations. I think
That's it.
that's so
That's
good.
the most important thing is to enjoy yourself and to be proud of what you're doing. That's the most important thing. If you're enjoying yourself and you're proud of it, then you're going to be motivated to go on to the next project. And then if you're proud of that,
Yeah,
you're motivated to go on to the next one and so on. If you come in all guns blazing and then it doesn't work out, you're just going to burn yourself out and give up. So that would be my advice. That would be my recommendation.
that's so good. So, Will, when you first started filmmaking, how did it feel the first day on a set? What was it like? Can you tell us what your experience was like?
Ah. Well, I learned from my mistakes. And my first mistake was I wanted everybody to like my work. I was taking all these photographs and I was showing them to people and I wanted them to like it. And if they didn't like it, that kind of dented my confidence. And then I realized actually, I have to like it. It's about what I like. If other people don't like it, then that's fine. It's perfectly okay. They can make
Okay.
their own decisions. I'm making what makes me proud. And that helps me to move on to a new film or a new photograph. So you can't please everyone. You have to please yourself and you have to be proud of what you do.
That's so good. So, if there's maybe a young person out there, maybe it's suffering with a wee bit of mental health, or maybe confidence has gone down, and they need support. So, um, how, and maybe photography or filmmaking, how could they get involved?
That's a really tough question because with mental health, it's so individual, not everybody's the same. For some people, they can cope with it. Some people struggle. My advice, I guess, would be try and get out and about, try and find support. Maybe try and find a buddy who might go taking photographs with you. Go for a forest walk, have a coffee, take some photographs. You know, try and make it sociable or go to a park. You might be in the center of a city like Glasgow. You might want to go on a shopping street and take photographs on a shopping street. But just think about the task, taking photographs, and that can help you distract yourself from your problems. And therapy as well is good.
Yeah, I suppose there's an emotional connection when you're doing sort of photography. But I mean, I need to ask you as well about how do you cope if you're with confidence, if maybe you're feeling shy and a bit embarrassed, especially when you're starting off. What would be your sort of tips or to help with confidence,
Ah,
or
hmm.
something that can help them, some sort of tricks of the trade?
I think it's about not being under pressure and just try things. If somebody's not all that confident, um, get them to just try something out. And it can be just one photograph and you can say, "Oh, that's great." And that might be enough to lift them, you know. Maybe you can get a model to do some poses. You know, maybe they need to do that in private to begin with, to find their path. If they're not so confident, maybe they need to do that first before they can go out and take photographs.
Yeah, that makes sense. You'd mentioned that in schools, or sometimes rather in schools, they have clubs and things like that, film clubs. Is that something you had in your time?
No, there was nothing like that for me. But I believe all schools should have photography, even just basic filmmaking, because we have English, maths, science, all of those things are important, right? But the arts are important too. And I think photography is part of the arts. It's one of the arts, and so is filmmaking. So I think those things should be encouraged, and I think children should have options, and they should be able to take options for photography and filmmaking as part of that arts provision. So I think there should be, well, not a law, but it's my belief that that should be provided on a statutory basis, really, because the world would be a boring place without arts, wouldn't it?
So true, and it's such an important thing to say about the future, that we hope that we can, our arts are protected and that we can achieve our potential. So it really is important.
Yeah,
And also, it's good that we have deaf people there as well, experiencing that and seeing
exactly.
what it's like.
Yeah. And when you're talking about school and filmmaking, the school should maybe give you um, the opportunity to make 1 to 3 minute films as a class, working together, rather than as an individual task, something that you could do together so that you can teamwork, experience someone doing the lighting, someone else doing that. I think that would give children a great experience of teamwork, of confidence building. It would encourage so many skills. I think that's really important, the team working part of it particularly.
Yeah, definitely help with their development. I'd love that if that was to happen. So, um, you feel that young people as well as older people, it really doesn't matter their age, you can still work together in this kind of visual world.
Yeah. I think both. I think there's room for young people to work with young people, old people to work with old people, and young people and old people to work together. Um, I think there you could get 70-year-olds and 18-year-olds working together. I think you have to be open-minded. I think diversity is important. I think it's fine to work with people who are your age, your peers. But, 18-year-olds can learn from 70-year-olds, and 70-year-olds can learn from 18-year-olds. So I think that dialogue can be important too.
Oh, that's so good. So when a young person maybe is starting out in their journey, um, is confidentiality really important, or rather, sorry, commitment, is that important for their journey? When you look back at yourself, do you really need to have that passion and that commitment to achieve your goals and to get there eventually? So how do you maintain that?
Well, for me, passion is important. Um, at the moment, I've just set up my own business as a filmmaker, and my photography every day I look forward to, because I feel passionate about it. I like making films. I like taking photographs, and that's what keeps me going. I think if you're doing it for the money, you're not in the right thing. You've got to do something you're passionate about. I think that's really important for your well-being. I think then you like to meet new people. You like to make friends in your field. I think it's something that you want to keep going with if you have the passion. So I guess you could do it without that, but I don't know whether you'd feel successful or not, whether you'd be successful or not. I guess it depends on the person.
So the people who are famous to us now, are they, when they started, were they really sort of committed?
I think somewhere, some
Oh, why?
are passionate. Some, I think, you can look at some films and you can see the passion that's in them. You can see the passion of the filmmaker, because you enjoy it. You see the hard work involved in that.
Ah,
Other films you look at and you think,
can you give us an
that's been a bit
example,
of a
Will,
struggle.
of a film,
Oh,
a good film?
I'm not sure I can give examples. You know the film Blade Runner? That's an amazing film. And I think you can see the director's passion in that. It's a beautiful film. Other films I think might be less good. They might feel a bit rushed. There's not so much passion in them. Perhaps they're a bit of a failed project. Perhaps they've been short of money. So I think I think both of those things are out there.
Oh, wow, that's fabulous. So if anybody's interested in doing sort of photography and filmmaking, then you really want the support of your friends and family to keep you
Definitely.
going. You need that on your
Yeah,
journey.
definitely, definitely. Because I've been through some struggles, I have to say. I've thought of giving up sometimes. I've been struggling, and my friends and family have said, no, try again, go on, give it another go. And because of that, I've tried again and, maybe failed. And they've said, go on, keep going. You're passionate about this. So friends and family have really supported me. And without that, I'm not sure um, my journey would have been as smooth. Um, I think if somebody does do it on their own without that support, well done to them. I applaud them. But for me, friends and family have been very important. Yeah, that support's been important.
That's good to remind people that your confidence and mental health is directly related to support as well.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Because if you feel like, you know, you're going downhill, it's good to know that that support is there and they're going to pick you up just as you start to fall. They're going to lift you. So when your confidence is dropping, there's people there to help build it back up again, and that's a wonderful thing. I know some people don't have that, but what I would ideally like to see is that everybody one day will have that.
In the filmmaking world, Will, is it very flexible, the hours, or are the hours really long or short? How does it work? Because you have to do
Yeah.
sequences and you might have to film in different locations. So how does it work? And you don't film in sequence, do you?
No, you don't film it in order. You jump backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. You might be filming the end of the film first. It might be the first film that you record, and then then you change it all around in the edit. It's the edit is the place where you make it all fit together. In terms of flexibility, sometimes it is flexible, sometimes it's not. It can be quite stressful, or it can be quite fluid. So it's all of those things, really. It's both. Um, so you've got to enjoy it. It's challenging, but at the end of the day, when you get home, you think, yeah, that was good. Um, and that helps your well-being as well. That helps your confidence.
Yeah. So also, Will, what would happen if you were doing editing? Do you do that yourself or do you get outside people?
I do sometimes do it myself. Um, if I've got enough money left, I'll pay someone else to do the edit, and I'll direct that edit. But they'll do the edit itself. If I don't have that money left, then or if I have plenty of time, I might choose to do the edit myself. So, um, yeah, editing it can be a bit stressful. So I do try and offload it if I can. I think mostly, but don't tell
I
anyone.
wouldn't tell anyone. Oh, your stories are so amazing, Will. Just showing about your commitment, your passion, and just the fact that you were so focused on the final goal. Um, and I think if you are passionate about something, it makes the journey or the realization of the journey where you're going make it a wee bit easier. So for deaf young people out there, it would be wonderful if they wanted to achieve things that you've achieved. It's just having that commitment and passion and get involved. And I'm just so grateful that you've been here, Will, today.
Oh, thank
You've
you.
given such wonderful, shared so many stories. I hope one day you'll start teaching the young people.
I hope so one day too. I hope so one day.
But
Maybe
thank
this
you
year, you never
again.
know.
Thank you again for your time.
Thanks
Bye,
very much,
Will. Bye,
Kristers.
everyone at
Bye.
home.